Okay, so here is video 4 in my series about the Dirtywave M8's effects commands. Before I move on, I just want to talk generally about a few things. One thing I wanted to point out is if you're on effects 1 or effects 2 or effects 3, let's go to effects 3, and you hold edit, okay, and you hold up, you can see the list, we know that of course. Also, if you hold edit and right, you can move to the next one in the list, and left comes back. And of course when you get to the end of the row, if you could see it, which you can't of course, it will just drop down to the next row and the next row and keep going. So if we look now, we're here. So if I keep going, I should drop down to the next batch of effects. If I look now, see I'm there. So you can move from one effect to the other without going up to that big screen where you see all the effects, just by holding edit and right and left. I also wanted to point out that all these videos have got chapter markers. So if you want to learn about a specific effects command, you'll see it in the list of chapters, and if you click on that chapter marker, it will go straight to it. You can see the chapter markers by going to the foot of the YouTube screen, and there's like a little arrow. Click on that and then the chapter markers will come up on the right hand side. Don't forget, what I'm showing you is just a list really of all the effects, but obviously take what I'm showing you and run with it, develop it, see how you can use several effects together. And sometimes when you're doing videos like this, I'm speaking personally here, you can't see the wood for the trees. You're working through a great list of things, but obviously there's some great applications for these effects commands, and perhaps once I've done them all I might go back and talk about that a little bit, but for the moment I just want to get through all the effects commands, explain them and show you worked examples. Our first effects command in this video is called nth, and it's a conditional trigger based on loop count. So I'll show you how this works. I've set up this chord which is playing C4, and on effects 1 I've got this nth effects command and a pitch bend on effects 2. This nth command has got a value of 1 and 3. The 1 means once the phrase is looped once, it will play this C4 the second time through. And the 3 in this nth command means that once the phrase is looped 3 times, the pitch bend will happen on the 4th time. The 1 deals with what's on the left and the 3 deals with what's on the right. Okay, so if I play this, so that played through 4 times. The first time we didn't hear anything, the second time we heard the note, the third time we didn't hear anything, and the 4th time we heard the note and the pitch bend. So let's show you that in the chain. So nothing, note, nothing, note and pitch bend. So that is nth. So it's a way of setting up a conditional trigger based on the looping of the phrase. Our next effects command is called PSL, pitch slide, and this is what I used to call portamento or glide in my days of using synthesizers. And this command causes a glide up or a glide down to a note depending on what note has been played before in the phrase. If the preceding note is higher, the M8 will cause a glide down, and if it's lower it will be a glide up. So I've got a C5 on this step 0, I've got a C6 on step 4 with a pitch slide of 2, 4, and if I hold edit you'll see it's going to take 6 steps to glide up to that note from C5, and down here this C4 is going to take 2 steps to glide down from C6. So let's have a listen to that. It's running a bit fast, let's just slow that down. Down. So the pitch slide command, you are setting it in steps and ticks. Okay, 6 ticks per step, don't forget. So it's a great way of getting a portamento effect. So with this first one here, this is taking 6 steps to reach the note of C6 from the C5, and this one is taking 2 steps to reach the C4, to come down to the C4 from the C6. So that is pitch slide, portamento, or glide if you want to call it that. So with this first one, it takes until step A, I think, to reach that. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and this one, if you look at it, it's taking 2 steps. So it's going to go D, E. It's going to get to E before it reaches that note of C4 from the C6. So that is pitch slide. This is a very easy one. This is PVB. It's a vibrato, and there are 2 versions of it. There's vibrato and extreme vibrato. We've got the straightforward vibrato set on this note at the moment. You won't hear anything at the moment because it's set at 0. This is an XY, so you've got different settings for the left and right numbers. The left number sets the speed and the right number sets the depth. So if I crank the speed up, you won't hear anything until I change the depth. I've set the vibrato speed to 2 and the depth to 13. I can change that on the fly. Faster and faster, slower and slower, deeper and deeper. So that is PVB. So if we go to the effects command itself and hold edit and write, that takes us to PVX, and I'll go to the values and press option and edit to 0 them out. Now I'm going to press play and we'll see what happens if I start cranking these values. It very quickly gets quite crazy because this is the extreme version of it. I remember setting a 3/7 yesterday, which worked quite well. So if I take that out, put it back in, the original note is hardly recognisable in there. This is a very extreme version of the vibrato effects command. So 2 there, PVB vibrato and PVX extreme vibrato. You need to experiment with those, of course. This is the scale effects command. There's one that is set for the track and there's one that's set globally for the whole M8. So SCA is one that is set for just the track. So if I just play this, it's a chromatic scale that I put in here from C to C. So very straightforward. Now if I come over to the effects command and hold edit, you can see that the key is C and the scale is chromatic, so that's not going to change. If I change the scale with the edit and write to major, now listen to what happens. Now all those sharp notes have been removed because you don't have sharps in the scale of C major, so it constricts the scale. Let's change that again to minor. Now we're only going to hear notes in the scale of C minor. So it still plays the same amount of notes, it just auto corrects any notes that are not in that scale of C minor. Let's change the key to D. So it's D minor. Now it still starts on C, it won't automatically go from D to D, but it's going to go from C to C. It's only going to play notes in the scale of D minor. Auto correcting as it goes. And by the way, once you've set a scale, you can't change the note in the phrase. So I happen to know there's no F sharp in the scale of D minor. Okay, so I'm going to try and change this C to an F sharp, which I know doesn't exist in this scale. So I hold edit and write. So there's F. The next one should be F sharp, but it isn't. It's G. It can't get to that F sharp between the F and the G because the scale won't let it do that. That's the track scale version of this. and if you come over to this and press edit and write, it takes you to the global version, which will alter all phrases and all tracks to the same scale and key. This effect is called song hop, SNG. This sets the play position for the given track to a relative song row from its current position. If the given song position is not playable, the command is ignored. So in this particular song, I have set in chain 10, phrase 10, a song hop of 04. So that means every time it gets to this chain with this phrase and sees this, it's going to jump down by 4 rows in the song. Let's see what happens if I press play. It's jumped straight down to 8 because there's a 10 in step 4. So because I set it to 4, it jumped to 4, saw that song hop again and jumped down to 8. Show you that again. And it will carry on from there. Okay, so let's just try something different now. Let's take this 10 out. So with the FE chain, which is empty, when I press play at the beginning, this will jump down to step 4 because of that song hop command there. Here we go. Jump straight down, your other tracks start at the top. And then it just carries on from there. So this is a great way of reordering your chains in your tracks to get a different mix, a different version of your song. I'm just going to change this command here to something different. I'm going to put FE in here. Now I've set song FE as my effects command here, and you can see that it's making it go back 2 steps. So if I come to the song, if I go from here, you'll see it will start from 2 steps before this. Press shift and play. I'll do that again. So I'm on step 4, but it's going to play track 1 from step 2 ahead of that. But the other tracks will start from step 4. Now when it gets to this point again, it's going to step back again, isn't it? Let's see if it does. Did it again, see it step back. Now if I start from the beginning, see what happens here. Nothing. Like I said, it gets ignored if the song position isn't playable, and 2 back from 0 isn't playable, you see? So that is song hop. Our next effects command is a little strange. It's random seed, SED for short. Let's just take this effects command out over here for a minute, and it will mean that we get pitch bend randomly as set by RND, and the note will sound every now and again because of the chance. Okay, so we understand that. We've done all that before. Let's put this SED in. Now if I go to it, it's showing a random seed of 0B. So let me try and explain this. This is a bit of a weird one. It basically locks the randomness that the chance and the RND are setting over here on effects 2 column. So irrespective of what is happening with the chance command, once a seed is set under SED, that will lock that in. So if you have a note with a chance command on effects 1 and then you set a seed command on effects 2, once you find a seed whereby the note is silent or playing, the M8 will ignore the chance command and always play or always not play the note. Obviously if the chance is set so the note hardly ever plays, you may struggle to find a seed value that makes it play. So the seed is in itself random. You just have to scroll up and down until you find what you want. Setting higher values in the seed does not mean that you increase the chance of something happening, as it's random in itself. Yeah, it's hard to explain, isn't it? Hard to understand. So if I set this seed to 0, you can set it to 0 by holding Option and Edit, and I run the phrase, it'll just carry on like that isn't there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a seed setting where that's playing, See if it's playing here. Not playing there. Not playing there. Going to keep going up. Right, so now it's working. So the seed is working. The seed is sown, if you like. Now, what I can do now is I can change the random amount. And it will never change because the seed is set. You see? So I can change things by changing the random amount. Or the pitch bend, I could change that. Okay, I've changed things there. But that will never change now. Once I let go of that, because this seed is set over here, that will never change. So if I come up through the seed of values, now that will never play. The note will never play and we'll never hear the pitch bend. Now we've got a seed sown where it's all happening. It's a hard thing to explain, and I'm not sure in my own mind how I would use this, but again, it's this randomness, this chance thing whereby you're getting these happy accidents, you're not sure what's going to happen. That takes out that terrible repetition that you often get with sequences. This randomness is a good thing, isn't it? So basically, once you've set things over here, once you find a seed whereby that's all happening, leave it there, leave the value there, and that will never ever change. So it's kind of unrandomizing the randomness. It's a weird thing, isn't it? This next effect is called table, and with this one you can create a new instrument and then you can have two tables going in the same phrase. I'm going to load a new song before I get into this. So I'm going to create chain 10 in track 1, and then I'm going to create phrase 10. In this phrase I'm not even going to worry about putting a note in, just going to show you something. If I create instrument 10 here, then come across to the table, you'll see the table is set as table 10 for instrument 10, and you can't change that. So whatever number the instrument is, that is the number of the table that's applied to it. And tables, if you're not sure, I have done a couple of videos about these. They are kind of sub-sequences to the main sequence. I'm not going to get into that heavily here. So let's come back to my special song that I created for this. So in this phrase I've got instrument 10, which has automatically created table 10. So down here I've got instrument 10 again, but I've got table 00. So I've managed to get a different table with the same instrument, and you do it with this table effects command. So this one is table 10, this one is table 00. So with this one, if I come across to the table, it's set a relative 03 note, so it's 3 higher than the note that's in the actual phrase. Whereas with this table, table 00, come across to this table is setting a note that's 7 higher than the note in the phrase. Let's play the phrase. So the first one is 3 higher and the second one is 7 higher. So it's great, you can have different tables within the same phrase with this effects command of table. With a table, of course, every time it sees that note, it triggers the table from the top of the table. There it is from the top. And this one, show you the same thing. Second note in the phrase will trigger it. So we've got two tables in one phrase. Now, one thing you need to know is if I go over to the table here, it's going to go to table 10. But if I want to see table 00, I've actually got to be on this effects command, either on the name or the number, to see table 00. If I'm sort of here, for instance, I'm not going to see table 00, it's going to go to table 10. So you've actually got to be on either the name or the number to see that other table. Now this effects command is called table hop, and what you can do with this one, you can hop or jump to a specific table position. So very straightforward. I've set this table hop over here to 00, so nothing's going to happen. So if I set it to 1, watch what happens. Now if I go into the table, it's going to go from step 1 because it's hopping to that step. I'm not going to get that note that's 3 above and then the note that's 7 above the note. I'm only going to get the second one, which is 7 above. Watch the playhead. So when it re-triggers, it misses out that first step because in this phrase, you see I've got this table hop and it's making that table 10 hop to step 1. A little bit complicated, but it's very powerful, this, isn't it? You can do all manner of crazy things. That's table hop. Now this effects command is called table TIC, TIC, and it's very straightforward. What it does, if I play the phrase, it changes the table tick speed. So table 10 here, it's got a tick speed of 0.6, so it's going to run at the same speed as the phrase because you've got 6 ticks per step. So here, this table is going to run at the same speed as the phrase. But the second one here has been set here as table tick speed 3. So this one's going to go faster. So it's going to be normal and then faster. Normal, faster. I could set this one to table tick speed 3, so that'll be fast. And this is useful because the instrument itself, if you go to the instrument, has a table tick speed that you can set. You see? I don't know what would happen if you change the table tick speed. I think it overrides it. Yes, it seems to override what you've set in the table tick speed of the instrument. So in the instrument I've set that really high, 26, but that's being ignored because in the phrase I've got these tick commands set, and that seems to be overriding the global table tick speed. So more craziness here. With this effect command, which is TBX, we have an auxiliary table that runs alongside the other tables. So over here, TBX 04, this is table 04, and I've set a very high relative note here so you can hear it. So with this effect command set here, you're going to hear that very high note come in as that auxiliary table chimes in on step 1, the second step in. So listen out. So you've got the two normal tables, 10 and 00, but you've also got this auxiliary table running as well, which is table 04, giving us that very high note 2 octaves above. This effects command is called TPO, and it sets the song tempo in BPM. So if I come over to track 8 and down to chain 80 and come into this, you'll see I've set the tempo to 53 beats per minute. Now the tempo of this song is really 120, so it's going to slow down dramatically here. And not only that, I've used this REP, this repeat command, set to plus 3.75. So not only are we going to slow down dramatically here, but we're going to gradually speed up the tempo with this repeat command. So let's see how that happens. Let's go from the step above that. And we'll see what happens. We had a dramatic slowdown then, and then a speed up. Just to be sure, in this chain underneath, which is chain 00, step 00, I put in a tempo of 120. Okay, so I brought it back to its normal tempo just in case it didn't quite come back. I'm not quite sure how that works, but I think it will find its normal tempo anyway, but just to be on the safe side, I put that in. This is a great way of getting changes of tempo within your song. This is a global thing, of course. Right, this next one is the last one we're going to do today. Now this one is going to transpose the entire song at a given point. Now if I come over to step 7 and track 8 and chain 01, in here I put this transpose of 02. If I hold edit, you'll see that that is a global transpose of +2. It's going to come up a tone at this point. Be very careful if you're using fixed tempo loops in your song. You might need to take those loops out if you transpose up or down, because they won't play in time anymore. So let's go from a little bit before this and hear the original key. Now listen out for it at the end of this section. The drums are going to sound slightly different as they're transposed. There they go. Listen out for the pitched instruments. So you can hear that it's moved up a tone. Of course, you can do this several times in the same song, move the key up and down. So if you've got loops that are playing fine in the song before you do this, they'll definitely jump out of sync if you transpose the song to a different key, because effectively you're speeding them up or slowing them down if you do that. So there we are, that is today's tutorial. It was a pretty long one. I did 14 effects commands, and that completes the sequencer effects commands section. So we've done all of this section, sequencer effects, and to come next we've got the mixer effects. So if you got some value from today's video, please give it a like and consider subscribing to my channel. Thanks very much for watching, and you'll see me in my next video.